Hello there. Women and young workers are bearing the brunt of the effects of the invisible enemy. Firstly, please give this video a like to give my channel a boost, and I'm always uploading new videos, so please do check back daily. And big congratulations go to Boris Johnson and Carrie Simons on the birth of their baby son earlier today. So what with him still being weak from his recent encounter with the invisible enemy and having a newborn baby, I think we can forgive Boris if he decides to bow out of fronting today's Prime Minister's questions against the Labour leader Keir Starmer. Don't you? Now, in its briefing last night, the government reiterated its 5 tests for lifting the lockdown, but there are claims that the government has subtly altered the wording of one of the 5 tests, leading to suspicions of an imminent lifting of at least some restrictions. And the test in question was the 5th one. The claims are that the government has changed the wording from being confident that any adjustments to the current measures will not risk a second peak of infections, and changed it to confident that any adjustments to the current measures will not risk a second peak of infections that overwhelms the NHS. But you only have to go back to the original wording when Dominic Raab first put these in place on the 16th of April to see that it has always been the intention not to overwhelm the NHS with a second wave. Here's what Raab said when he first mentioned the tests. "This is really crucial. We must be confident any adjustments from the current measures will not risk a second peak of infections that would overwhelm the NHS." What really seems to have happened is that in between then and last night, those words on the NHS were dropped from the slide used at the daily government briefing, and they've now been reinserted. Wonder how the press missed that bit. I mean, it took me a few seconds on my favourite search engine to find that one out. Anyway, lifting the lockdown or easing restrictions would have come as very welcome news for everyone, especially our small businesses that are taking such a hammering at the moment. And there's also the matter of those of our younger generation who are on the cusp of joining the UK workforce, or they should be. According to the Resolution Foundation, which has published a report called Risky Business, young people are particularly likely to work in shutdown sectors of the economy. 16 to 24-year-olds are twice as likely to work in these sectors than the rest of the workforce. And it goes on to say that the Foundation says that the impact of the current economic crisis is likely to play out very differently across generations, just as the last crisis did. While older millennials, those born in the late 1980s, were hardest hit by the aftermath of the financial crisis, younger millennials born in the late 1990s are likely to find themselves hardest hit by the current crisis. So our young potential workforce is being sidelined as this crisis continues. But further, the report also says that working women are most likely to be bearing the health risks of the health crisis, as they are twice as likely to be working at the front line as part of the 8.6 million people working in healthcare, education and the retail of pharmaceutical and food products. The shutdown is also affecting the poor more than the wealthier, with the Foundation saying, "Jobs in shutdown parts of the economy are lower paid than average. 1 in 4 of the lowest 10% of earners work in these sectors, compared to less than 1 in 20 of the highest paid workers." But women, young people and the low paid are the most likely to be bearing the biggest health and economic risks from the crisis, which has shone a spotlight on the vitality of work that has been undervalued and underpaid for far too long. That focus needs to be maintained as the government aims to steer the economy towards recovery, which will mean a welcome move back to work for some, but a move from furloughing to unemployment for others. It is vital that policy focuses and stays focused on supporting those who have been at the epicentre of the current crisis. But there's also the matter of small businesses and their owners out there that are suffering too. According to the latest distributive trade survey by the Confederation of British Industry, or CBI, there is a historic slide in retail sales. This report says that 67% of retailers report that the current crisis is having a significantly negative impact on their domestic sales. And also that 39% of retailers said it was causing them to totally shut down, while 44% of retailers reported temporarily laying off staff and 8% reported permanent staff layoffs. And 96% of them reported cash flow difficulties, including 40% saying that they were having difficulties meeting their tax obligations. They also said that they were experiencing the sharpest fall in sales since December 2008 in the aftermath of the credit crunch, with a further expectation that this will slow even more next month. The CBI chief economist Rain Newton-Smith said, "It's no surprise that the lockdown is hitting retailers hard. 2/5 have shut up shop completely for now, and sales of groceries and other essentials also fell, suggesting households may have been dipping into stockpiles built up prior to the lockdown or tightening their belts more generally as incomes take a hit." And smallbusiness.co.uk reports that research by the startup and high-growth business law firm Buckworths shows that 20% of small businesses will not survive another month unless they get an increase in their cash flow from somewhere. And it also says that this rises to a sizable 62% in Northern Ireland, 31% in the West Midlands and 30% in the East Midlands. And this is not helped by the added pressure of financial difficulties are being compounded by a lack of support from landlords. Almost a fifth, 19% of retail, leisure and hospitality businesses have had a rent holiday declined. Only 14% said that their landlord was understanding. Buckworths has started a campaign to reboot British business and is preparing a white paper on the subject. You can register your interest on their website at buckworths.com. And City AM also has a campaign to save our small and medium-sized enterprises. #SaveOurSMEs. And writing in City AM, the CEO of fintech firm Tide, Dr. Oliver Prill, says, "Small business owners are the bedrock of our economy, contributing around £1.5 trillion per annum, 37%, to the UK private sector turnover, and they need to be given hope that an end to this crisis is on the horizon, with a clear strategy that will lead them out of the economic crisis." And also that while we should be following the science, for the sake of our hugely important small business population, we need to understand the government's strategy for getting out of the lockdown as soon as possible. And Dr. Prill has also proposed a 3-step approach for putting small businesses on the best possible footing to give them a chance for recovering and prospering after this is all over. And the first step, he says, is to prioritise the opening of small businesses, saying, "Allowing small businesses to reopen first, with social distancing measures in place, will give them a necessary head start and the opportunity to rebuild before it is too late." The next step would be to refocus government business support from rescue to recovery. And that would entail not just ditching the current rescue schemes, but morphing them into recovery schemes. And the final step would be to nurture these businesses through the new normal. Also writing in City AM, Sabby Gill, who is the managing director of the accounting software company Sage, says that the UK's 6 million SMEs need big business to help them. They need the immediate government relief packages to be effective and delivered quickly, and they need the community to support their business in whichever way they can. And also that business access to government support must be beefed up across the piece, from loans to furlough, that communicating with business to assess the impact of this lockdown is critical, and that support is necessary for long-term change and adaptation. And as Sabby Gill says, we must support our local businesses as they are the heart of the nation. And supporting small businesses could also provide a fast track to supporting those women and young workers I mentioned earlier in these trying times. So let's hope that Boris and his team are listening. Anyway, if you want to hear more from me, please don't forget to subscribe and also press that little bell, or you won't get any notifications. And if you want to see more of me, buy a mug with my mug on it. So what do you think about all of this? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.